Hello and welcome to NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars. Today is Thursday, September 26th. You are attending one of our NJ Thrive's weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. Welcome to our webinars. If you're new, if you've been attending them, we welcome you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your constant attendance. Thank you for all the feedback that you provide. We always appreciate it. We love to take your feedback in a constructive way. Thank you for always doing our surveys, and just a little gratitude, note of gratitude to extend to you all for the constant support that we've been receiving, not only with our NJ Thrives, but also with our new Empower to Grow show. My name is Uzma. I'm a consultant here at America's New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network, which is NJSBDC. We're a statewide program powered by the SBA, Small Business Administration, and partners alike to help small businesses in New Jersey with three main things. And those things are no cost small business consulting, training and events, starting with at $0, just like this one that you're attending, and exclusive small business resources. Go ahead in the chat and let us know where you're from in New Jersey, how you heard about our webinars, if you've been attending this, anything you'd like to share about your small business as well. Feel free to leave your socials, any information you'd like to share. Take it as a networking space and reply to everyone, share your comments. Make sure when you're sharing it with everyone, unless it's something private reserved for me or our team here. Another quick note to make is that we are a statewide program, as I mentioned, which means that our offices are located throughout the state of New Jersey. If you see on the map here on the screen, you'll see small SBDC logos, and that means that's where our regional centers, 11 regional centers are, including our state office. So if you're interested in learning more and where exactly these regional centers are, please go to njsbdc.com and learn more. What is on the agenda? As always, we have our headlines, then we have the presentation from our speaker and a Q&A session. These are the small business headlines of the week. I will go through them very, very quickly, just to save everybody's time and to give our speaker time. The links will be shared in the chat and you can view them there. Now, this is our Empower to Grow, which I mentioned in my introduction earlier. This is episode 4, and we received a lot of great feedback for it as well. So thank you so much for all the support. Please go ahead to our YouTube channel and view our episode 4, which is with NJBAC's Executive Director, Melanie Willoughby. And our other episodes are on our YouTube channel as well. Second headline to view is NJBAC Southern Regional Resources for Growth Small Business Event. This is happening on Friday, September 27th, which is tomorrow. This is an in-person event happening at Rowan College of South Jersey, and the timing is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, lasts for 3 hours. If you're a business owner or an aspiring entrepreneur, NJ Business Action Center, which is a great resource for everyone to keep in mind of and keep in their small business loop. This will be a summit. It is free, it is in person, it is in collaboration with us as well. So if you are in the area, if you can attend, highly recommend you to do so. Next is a press release from NJEDA. NJEDA stands for New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Also another great small business resource for all the entrepreneurs to keep in mind. Released just yesterday, NJEDA to open applications for Main Street Acquisition Support Grant. An informational webinar will be held next week. So this is a grant on October 1st. This is a pilot program that will help boost small business owners' liquidity following the purchase of a New Jersey commercial property. Webinar will be held on September 30th. So this just outlines what, who, when. Application, of course, will open next week. If you'd like to learn more, go to this link. The links are being shared in the chat. Business.nj.gov. This is the official site of the state of New Jersey. And update recent regulations and resources. And the update is free financial and technical guidance to grow your business. Access this technical support for your business at an event, which is what we highlighted. More than 40 exhibitors We wanted to share this because this is a great page for also as a resource for small businesses. So if you'd like, you can go to business.nj.gov and keep an eye for all updates. Definitely something to keep in your loop. Another update is new grant for employee training. Businesses can now access funding through the Labor and Workforce Department Upskill Program, which is the worker training grant program. This grant helps employers cover up to 50% of training costs for frontline employees, aiding in skill development for mid and high skill jobs. Individual employers can apply for up to 500K. All right, so pretty cool information to share. Again, I have gone through them very, very briefly. The link has been shared in the chat. The links have been shared in the chat. You can save the chat and you'll be able to open them later, or because they're hyperlinked, you can open them right now and save them on your tabs. Some housekeeping rules that we'd like you to keep in mind and be respectful of. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. This means questions for us, the NJ Thrives team, or the presenter. If you put them in the chat, most likely they'll get lost. We want to address your questions. If you put them in the Q&A box, which is the dedicated space, then we'll address them at the end. If you'd like to receive the slides from our speaker, please complete a brief survey. And after completing the Google Form survey, the link will be shared with you. It will not be emailed, just to keep in mind. Webinar is being recorded. Link is shared in the chat. It is really just our YouTube channel. You can just go to YouTube, type in NJSBDC State Office, and you'll find our webinars, including this one, in a couple of days. And with that, we have Vanessa Schwartz, who is one of our startup consultants. Vanessa has been amazing at doing these webinars for us, I think, since past year. So today is NJ Business Launchpad, your guide to business registration. If you missed that before, this is another opportunity to get information. So Vanessa, welcome. I will stop sharing. Go ahead, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate the introduction. I'm going to share my screen. Hope everybody's having a good day. Okay, and here we go. Let's get the slides up. Okay. All good, Uzma?
Yes, all good.
All right, excellent. All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Vanessa Schwartz. I'm with the New Jersey Small Business Development Center, and I'm here to talk a little bit about formation and registration of your business. In particular, we're going to spend the most time talking about the limited liability company, but in doing so, I think it's always important to understand business structure, not necessarily in a vacuum, but as a overall approach to where it fits in the continuum of business structures that are available to small business owners out there. So once again, we're going to talk about some different options you have when you're forming a business in terms of the structures that you can pick from, the formation and registration process, a little bit touch upon the New Jersey state regulations in terms of starting a business and what some of the consequences are in terms of taxes and additional taxes that may be subject to business owners in running their business in New Jersey. Funding and cash management is always very important to address when we're talking about starting a business and thinking ahead in terms of your business planning. And we'll address a little bit of some additional needs that small business owners may have in their journey, whether they're startups or moving along and within their operations, what resources are available to you in New Jersey. And then opportunities for growth. Here at the NJSBDC, we don't just assist those who are starting businesses. We are here to be mentors to those who are already in business as well, and are here to counsel you, to mentor you in terms of understanding where you may have some opportunity, and not only to grow, but also to grow profitably, which is very important. Okay, moving on. So the first business entity I want to talk about is the sole proprietorship. The sole proprietorship isn't so much a entity, and I'm going to backtrack. I meant to say more a choice, a structure, a way that you may operate as a business owner. Basically, it's you, the person, who have decided to transact business and are conducting business on behalf of yourself. You are in business, however, your work and your transaction is between yourself, the person, and the client. So in doing so, you may decide that you'd like to go by a separate name. You don't just want to be, Vanessa Schwartz business. You want to have a trade name, and we call that a trade name. In New Jersey, it's called the trade name, and that can be obtained at your local county clerk's office. The process costs about $50 or $60. It's a application for a name. It has to be, usually it's meant to be unique within your county. And that way the county is aware, it's on file, that you are representing yourself under a name different than your own. And again, that trade name application, $50, $60, you go right to the website. Most county websites, you go right to the county clerk tab, and you'll see something advertised as either a trade name or a business name, and you can fill out the application. So relatively inexpensive. You may use, in terms of tax identification, you may use your Social Security number, or you may get an employer identification number from the IRS. Now, why is that important? So once you establish your trade name, you still have to register your sole proprietorship with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. So this is for tax purposes, and anything for tax purposes requires a tax ID. Sole proprietorship, you may use your Social Security number. Now, the idea of having a separate tax ID is actually one that has become more popular, and it has become advisable. But even though you don't have to, not a bad idea to go to irs.gov. It does not cost anything, and apply for a EIN. That way you can conduct your business, and sometimes you have to put your tax ID on a number of different things when you're in business. This eliminates the need to have your Social Security number floating around on, whether it's a W-9 or you're contracting with somebody. You can apply for an EIN, and it does not cost anything. You go right to the irs.gov. Then you can take whatever tax, whether you choose your Social Security or whether you use your EIN, you can go ahead and register your sole proprietorship on the it's on the New Jersey portal, New Jersey Division of Enterprise and Revenue Services, and you become a registered business, a registered sole prop, if you will. Now, the sole proprietorship allows you to use your personal banking account to transact your business. You do not need to apply for a separate business banking account. It is perfectly acceptable to accept your funds, make a transaction, deposit it into your personal account. When it comes to tax time, as a sole proprietorship, you file your normal income tax return and you attach a Schedule C to the return. And the Schedule C is just an IRS one-page document that will show the additional income from your business, your sales, expenses, and ultimately your net income. The net income is then flows up to your personal total personal tax return, and you'll pay income taxes and the like on your any net income that is established from this business. So no separate tax return necessary. You just attach to your personal income tax return. So very simple. However, there is no liability protection. You are not protected. Your assets are not protected. Any business conducted on behalf of yourself and your trade name, if something were to go wrong, if you were to I don't know, encounter some mishap. And unfortunately, if you were to be sued, you are risking all your personal assets, any bank accounts, home ownership, whatever you may own, you are at risk. So no protection there. So beyond the sole proprietorship now, we're going to start talking about business entities. Now, anything beyond the sole proprietorship, we are now talking about an entity that is separate from yourself personally. The simplest being the limited liability company. The LLC is a very nice business entity option for small business owners because it's relatively inexpensive and it's relatively low maintenance in terms of administrative work and costs. It costs $125 to form an LLC in New Jersey. There is a processing fee of $350, or you can pay with an e-check. Now, whereas the sole proprietorship gave you a trade name at the county level at $50, $60 and no liability protection, the LLC is $125. It is a state regulated business entity, so the name must be unique within the state of New Jersey, and you are provided liability protection, limited liability, but yet it's liability protection in that you are no longer the you are personally separate from the assets that are held within the business. So if you were to encounter a problem, if there was a lawsuit, if there was a debt, if there was an issue, typically you would be only responsible for the assets that are held within the LLC. Now, the difference here is that in order to maintain an LLC in good standing, you have to pay $75 a year. It's an annual dues program. It's done fairly simply through the NJ portal. They call it, New Jersey calls it filing an annual report. It sounds scary. Filing an annual report sounds like I have to file something. I have to hire accountants. No, filing an annual report is logging into the portal, paying your $75, making sure nothing's changed if you haven't moved or anything's different, and hitting submit. And you're good for until the following year when your $75 are due again. If you fail to pay over 2 years and you forget about it, or you didn't realize you had, a lot of people don't even realize that there's an annual dues paid through by filing this report, your company will become in revoked status and you are no longer protected, and you can go out there and you can operate and thinking you have an LLC, but if God forbid something were to happen, in New Jersey's eyes, you are revoked. You're not in good standing, and you could really harm yourself in terms of your protection. So it is important to pay your $75 a year. Beyond 2 years now, there's also a reinstatement fee. It's changed over the years what the penalties are and how long it takes for New Jersey to recognize that you haven't paid. Most recently, I have seen it with my own eyes. It's now 2 years before you're revoked. And at that point, there is a reinstatement fee of an additional $75. So you have to pay all your back plus an additional $75 penalty. Now, with the LLC, you are now required to get a separate tax ID number from the IRS. Once again, the EIN is free. I have to say that multiple times. There have been instances where it is very easy for somebody to be on what looks like an IRS website and applying for a tax ID number. And next thing you know, you are prompted to pay $250. You are on a third-party site and you are not in the right place. And as I said last time, abort, 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 close it out. Do not pay for an EIN. It does not cost anything. It is free. You get it directly from the irs.gov. It's an online application. Once you hit submit, you will automatically have an EIN generated immediately for you to print out and to utilize. Now, they do give you an option on the online application to whether you want the EIN online or whether you want it mailed to you. You do not want it mailed to you because it could be a month before you get it. So click online and it should automatically generate, print out the letter, download it, save it, you have your number. Now, LLCs also require separate business banking accounts. You must open a business bank account. This is separate. This is different. It's handled differently than a personal account. Business bank accounts require your certificate of formation, which is generated when you form the LLC, as well as your letter from the IRS with the tax ID. The names on the two documents must match. The EIN is assigned, not to you, but it's assigned to the legal business name of the LLC. So once the bank sees the two documents, you are the owner. It's understood. You're the signer for the bank account. You can open up your business bank account, and going forward, that means you are now separated personally from the business. All transactions on behalf of the business are done through the business bank account. Someone wants to write you a check, it has to be in the name of the business. So that way the money is properly deposited into the business account. And then you, as the owner, are free to withdraw, deposit, pay yourself, pay your bill, whatever you need to do. You can take an owner's draw from the business account, move it to your personal account. But we do need to see the records. It does have to flow through the business bank account. Now, the beautiful thing about the LLC is that when you are a single owner or member means owner in LLC terminology, single member LLCs are allowed to file a Schedule C to their tax return to report their net income. If you recall, that's the same tax filing as the sole proprietorship. So there's no separate tax return, still a very simple tax filing. The IRS allows single member LLCs to use the sole proprietor tax protocol to file income taxes. Now, if you're more than one person and you're a multi-member LLC, that means more than one owner, you normally would default to a Form 1065. What is a 1065? That is your typical partnership tax filing protocol. Now, it doesn't mean you're a partnership. Partnership has a different connotation. It means you're a limited liability company, a multi-member LLC that will be taxed as a partnership. And then ultimately, whether you're a single member or you're a multi-member, you're also allowed, if you so choose, to be taxed as a S Corp. I'll get into that a little bit later, but just know for the purposes of this discussion, LLC owners can choose how they wish to be taxed. There is some discretion on how you wish to be taxed. Now, corporations, if you're thinking of a continuum of business entities in terms of their level of protection, corporation is your most protected business entity. It is more expensive to run. It is more expensive to file taxes. It's there's more administration, there's more paperwork. You are required to have bylaws. You are required to have a board of directors. You're supposed to hold shareholder meetings, and corporations have separate tax returns for the company. So it's a little bit more cumbersome, but it does offer you the strongest liability protection. Now, sometimes small businesses, for various reasons, may decide they wish to incorporate versus forming articles of formation, which is the LLC process of becoming a business entity. There are industries, I would say sometimes you might see it in home building, maybe you see it in trucking, you might see it in some technology companies. There's different nuances in incorporating that not only it allows the company to have the strongest liability protection in what it's doing, but could be a good way to help raise funds and capital by issuing shares to additional shareholders. So there are reasons why you may want to incorporate. Now, the problem with the corporation is corporations have face and are required as part of the tax filing to pay a corporate tax rate. So you get to your net income number and there's a corporate tax rate that's applied to your net income. That's a big, I would say that's a big discussion, even currently now in politics. What should that corporate tax number be? You know, so, but there is taxation on the corporate level. Once you get to the profits, shareholders then partake in the profits, and as the owners of the shares, you are then required to pay taxes on your dividends. So that's why sometimes a corporate structure, it's you're looking at what's known as double taxation, and as a small business owner, that's burdensome. So the IRS allowed for years ago to set up what's known as an S Corp tax filing option. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about that on the next slide, but I just wanted to say that for the purposes of both the LLC and the corporation, once each of those are formed, just like with the sole proprietorship, you need to then register those business entities with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. So in all of this, there is a formation side of it and there's a registration side of it. It is two separate processes in New Jersey, and it often gets overlooked. Many times people think that it's sufficient to legally form the business, and they think they're ready to go. They think that's registering. It's not registering. You have to actually take that business and you have to go to the New Jersey DOR. I have the site there. You'll, well, there'll be links. You're going to get copies of all of this and you'll be able to get into links yourself, but you'll be able to go and see that that is a separate link to actually register the business once it's formed. We'll get more into that. We're going to talk more about that. Now, I just want to spend a couple minutes talking about S Corps. People like to throw around S Corps. I'm an S Corp and an S Corp. S Corps are not so much business entities as they are tax designations. So you are either a corporation that has since filed to become taxed as an S Corp. All right, it's basically a change in tax status from a C Corp to an S Corp. And that avoids that corporate double taxation. It's a different process. It allows the taxable income to pass through directly to the shareholders, and it doesn't involve having to pay a separate corporate tax. Now, there are some stipulations on what corporations are allowed to apply for S Corp. I have some of it here. You have to have 100 or fewer shareholders. It can only be common stock. There can't be any preferred stock involved. So you are either a corporation that has chosen to be taxed as an S Corp and gone from the C Corp to the S Corp in terms of tax designation, or you are an LLC that has chosen to be taxed as an S Corp. LLCs also have that option. I think I had mentioned earlier, if you're an LLC, you can choose to be taxed as a corporation. In this case, it's taxed as a corporation as an S Corp. You don't choose to be taxed as a C Corp. There's paperwork that's involved. This is more an accounting issue than anything else. I'm not an accountant, so I don't claim to be an expert in all the terminology. Just know that when an LLC at a certain threshold in income, it could be more tax advantageous for business owners to change their tax designation from that of a sole proprietor Schedule C or from that of a partnership 1065 to elect S Corp status for the purposes of taxation. What does that do? It allows you to put yourself on a salary and you become both employer and employee of your company. Now, typically LLCs in their original formation, in their original form, you are not employees of your company. As owners, you are owners. You pay yourself through profit. You take owner's draw. You pay self-employment taxes on your profits. If you are a tax as an S Corp, you avoid the self-employment tax and are now subject to payroll taxes. The calculation could be more tax advantageous to a small business. And this is something that you will only be able to answer with your accountant when that person, or if you're savvy enough to figure out what the calculations are, to know which scenario is better for you. It's something that can change along the life of your business. You may start being taxed one way, and down the road, as you start generating more profits and more net income, realize that you might be better off a different way. You can make that change. Okay, moving on. So I want to talk more now about the LLC. And again, two-step process there, formation and registration, and where we fall into the mix at the SBDC. We're here to assist you and walk you through the process start to finish. It is meant to be done by the business owner. It's meant to be user-friendly. It's meant to be something that you should be able to do yourself and not have to pay a third party, because it can be costly. You're a small business and you're getting started, and not many people have $600–700 to go pay a third party to get them set up. So New Jersey does have everything outlined online. However, anything with the government can be confusing. And if you're not familiar with the site and not comfortable with the terminology and not necessarily feeling good about going through the process yourself, that is what we are here for. We will walk you through the process start to finish. We'll make sure that you're formed. We'll make sure that you're registered. We'll make sure you have your tax ID. We'll make sure you understand all the terminology, why they're asking you to do what they're asking you to do, and what your responsibilities as business owners will be going forward in terms of keeping your business in good standing. Now, that's what we do. That's what we're here for. You can request counseling, and we'll talk you through it right over the phone. I think it's important that it's a great service, and it's one of the best benefits of working with the NJSBDC is having that hand-holding through these early steps, because sometimes, and even if you did it on your own already and you're like, oh, I don't know if I did it right, or oh, I paid somebody and I never heard from that person again, I don't even know if I've been paying my dues. Make an appointment. We'll look it up. We'll make sure that you're all okay, that you did it right, that you're in good shape, and that we answer all your questions in terms of your setup. Okay. It's all part of being hands-on on your business. The more you're hands-on, at least initially, the better off you're going to be. Your bookkeeping, your documents, knowing what's important, having it organized. That's what we're here for. We want to help as you get started. So here I am again, emphasizing, once you're formed, don't forget to register. That's the site to the business registration. I'm sorry, that the other one was the site to the business formation. Again, these are all links that you'll have access to when you get a copy of the slides. But whether you do the sole prop, whether you do the LLC, whether you do the corporation, whether you're set up in a different state and you want to do business in New Jersey and you want to register what's known as a foreign in New Jersey, all of that can be done online. But once you do it, once you create the business, you must register for tax purposes. Okay, the last little tidbit of paperwork that's required now is we do have to file beneficial ownership information reports. That's through, it's a federal requirement now. It has nothing to do with state regulation. It's through Financial Crimes Network, I believe. That's the link. If you have questions, we're happy to walk you through it. It's pretty straightforward, although Anything with the government, straightforward, can be confusing to some. I get it. Basically, the federal government wants to now keep an ongoing database of limited liability companies and who owns what. This is to avoid tax crimes and other evasions and shell companies and all the things you hear on the news these days that people are taking advantage of by forming LLCs. This gives them direct access to a database to know, okay, you formed a business, you're the owner, there's your picture. They do require proof of ID for every owner of the business. And now there's a tab on you. It's somewhat controversial. I believe there is some litigation in some states about whether or not this is overreach, but for now it is required. You only have to do it once. Okay, so when you form your business, what will you need to have? Okay, so we're going to have a unique business name in New Jersey. As you can see here, I'll just take you over to some of these links where you could do a business search. And you can see, hey, is my business name available? And yes, if anybody wants to start a business called Sample Business, you are good to go. But don't, because I always use that as my example, and I won't be able to use it as my example if it was taken. So that's how you can search. Let's go back. You'll need your tax ID, free from the IRS. We'll have some industry codes to fill in. Once we're in the process of doing it, you'll see there's links to be able to pick up some codes. That NICS code is the first one. That's a national industry classification code, basically for for statistical purposes. This keeps track of the type of industries, businesses that are being formed in the country and in the state, I suppose. And then New Jersey has their own set of codes for, I guess, just record keeping, understanding the types of businesses being formed. So that's required. You need a registered agent, right? Who is a registered agent? You can be your own registered agent. It has to be a New Jersey address. It has to be a name of a person and a place where mail can be delivered to you in New Jersey from the government. And if you were to be sued, it would be a place for a lawyer to be able to, I guess, serve you your papers. You don't have to physically be in New Jersey, but if you decide to, whether you create a domestic New Jersey LLC or you create a foreign, meaning that you were domesticated somewhere else, but you want to register to do business in New Jersey as well, because you have operations here. You have to have a New Jersey presence, at least a registered agent. And if you don't have a home address you want to use for yourself, then you can hire a registered agent. If you're more than one owner in an LLC, you do need an operating agreement. You need to, and usually it's the bank that's going to ask for that first when you go to open your business bank account. Operating agreement for more than one owner means spelling out in writing who owns what your responsibilities are in running the business, what your contributions will be, what your profit sharing looks like, and if the company were to be dissolved tomorrow, how would you basically distribute the assets? It is not necessarily something that has to be done with a lawyer, although all things legally based, you're probably most protected if you do seek counsel. It's an important document. It's not something that you would want not to be in good standing or in good shape if, God forbid, you had to dissolve the business tomorrow and there were assets involved and questions. So it does protect yourself in terms of when you're doing, especially when you're doing business with other people. Now, the cost is the $125 plus $350 processing fee, and e-check is $1. That's the processing fee for an e-check. And you'll need to know all the names and addresses and social security numbers and percent ownership of all the members of the LLC. And members means owners. Okay. When we get to the registration part of all the the process, That's where they ask you, how do you want to be taxed? Remember, LLCs can choose how they wish to be taxed. Single member typically that's what will default is the Schedule C. If you're more than one, you would check the 1065 box, or at any given point, if you're starting out and you know from the beginning you want to be taxed as a corporation with the S Corp designation, you would check the 1120 box. You're going to need to know if the sale of your goods and or services are subject to New Jersey state sales tax, and if you're eligible to make exempt purchases. If you are selling mugs, jewelry, crafts, what else? Most consumer goods are subject to sales tax. It means that you sell the item and you charge the New Jersey state sales tax, which is 6.685%. And I may have fudged that a little bit, but you get the idea on the purchase. And you are responsible as the business owner to hold that money, hold the sales tax money, and remit it to the state at the end of each quarter. There's a process to do that. We can walk you through that. We can explain that. Usually when we set you up, we discuss that in detail. I send links of where to go. It's called filing an ST50. And that is your responsibility as the business owner to know if your transactions are subject to state sales tax. There's a booklet that there's a link to that actually in this presentation. I'll show you, but New Jersey has everything outlined. As I said, most consumer goods are subject to sales tax, but there are exceptions. Obviously, we know in New Jersey, apparel, clothing is not subject to sales tax. Services are generally exempt from sales tax, except there are exceptions. If you have housekeeping or residential commercial cleaning service and you're a registered business in New Jersey, even though it's a service, you are required to charge sales tax on that service. So that's something we can review with you. And then there are certain industries and certain businesses that require additional licensing and certifications. Examples are home health aides. Examples are handyman, contractors, anybody who's doing business or improvements on a house requires, or residential building needs to have a general contractor's registration, or it's called the handyman license. That is all through the New Jersey portal. Actually, there are different agencies, excuse me. It's not all through the portal. You can find out if you're required through the portal, but in terms of going to actually get the proper registrations, they tell you, okay, well, the general contractor registration, you'll get that through the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. Or home health aide. Oh, okay, yep, you need to go to the Board of Nursing. They're the ones who run the licensing for the home health aide industry. So knowing whether or not what you're doing requires anything extra, it's something we can help you with. And you're going to have to open up a business bank account. You don't want to pay fees. My best recommendation is to find a business bank account that does not charge any monthly fees. Okay, here are some of the links we talked about regarding licenses and registration, sales tax requirements. This, I'll just briefly show you what I mean here. See, this is a nice sales tax guide, tells you everything. You can kind of go through it and see, and I'm sorry to be scrolling quickly. I just wanted to show you down here. Like over here, you can see, oh, this is cleansers or soaps are taxable, but creams or lotions are exempt. It is what it is. We do our best to follow how they decide what's taxable, what isn't taxable. Again, something that we can talk about and review. Most things are straightforward. Some industries are a little bit tricky, but we won't get into that right now. Income tax. I'm not going to talk too much about income tax requirements right now, but just to say that, just remember, as business owners, we're no longer having our withholdings taken from our paychecks as if we were paid employees. We are required to pay self-employment taxes. And the state and the federal government as well. When we talk about the federal, we talk about the IRS. Right now, these are just state websites, but typically, we're now in a situation where you're not going to wait till April 15th to pay your taxes. The government, whether it be state or federal, doesn't want to wait a full year to get your full year's worth of income taxes. So over time, you will learn both at the state level and the federal level what would be appropriate for paying into estimated income taxes. It might be something you want to discuss with an accountant on how to set that up and how much to contribute. It's not as straightforward as one would think, because you have to take into consideration who you're filing with. If you're married, filing jointly, the analysis has to be on the joint income tax return on what would be appropriate for your contributions. So not an accountant, but I would say that that's something eventually maybe you'd want to speak to an accountant about. If you're deciding whether or not to hire employees, you can either do a payroll, and that would be, a W-2, W-4. They fill out a W-4, you issue them a W-2. That means you're going to be withholding their payroll expenses and taxes. And the other option is if you have more just a need for independent contractor work from time to time, you can hire somebody as an independent contractor where you would have them fill out a W-9. You would then issue them a 1099 at the end of the year, and they would be responsible for paying their own income taxes. And then it's always good to make sure you understand if your business needs additional insurance or if you have employees, workers' compensation is required. One of the things, touching upon what we do at the SBDC as well, is we'll help you decipher your startup cash needs, what you need for startup versus what you might need for ongoing operating expenses, what that looks like in terms of your forecasts, what that means in terms of your own personal budget considerations. Do you need additional sources of capital? Do you need to go seek a loan? We help with loan prep and business planning, and assisting you with maybe creating a 12-month to month income forecast in order to show the lender. And we think it's important in doing all this at some point that you understand basic financial statements, you understand your income statement, you understand what a balance sheet is, how your cash flows work. It's not easy. It's not necessarily something that we as business owners are aware of. We may have a craft, a skill, a talent, and may not be in numbers, but we'll do very well. We'll be successful in selling our services or our goods. But there is a little piece of you that should do a little bit, if you can, to educate yourself on some of the financial matters, just enough so that you're understanding of the ins and outs of the cash flows of your business. And we offer webinars and programs and educational programming on lots of different topics that could be very helpful to you as small business owners, including the use of bookkeeping. We've done some QuickBook webinars in the past. We've done some classes in the past. There are great YouTube tutorials. There are any number of online apps now for bookkeeping. QuickBooks is certainly not the only one. It's good to look at it, see what you are interested in, or maybe you feel comfortable just using an Excel spreadsheet, which is perfectly fine. The important thing to do is that you keep track of your income statement and you keep track of your cash flows. We'll always tell you when you need additional needs. Accountants, lawyers, insurance agents, talk to the banks. We are here to advise and counsel, and there's certain times where only an accountant's going to be able to answer your question, or when we'll tell you, you need to really talk to a lawyer. Insurance agents are great because they'll, trying to maybe sell you their policy, just listen, hear them out, doesn't cost anything, you can educate yourself, and then you can always go price compare onto some good online insurance brokers where you can see what might work best for you. And we, just so you know, we do have some counselors who are more marketing and social media focused. So if you want to shoot something and, request someone in more than that area, you can do that as well in seeking SBDC counselors. And if you have questions about state certifications and how to become a woman minority business owner, veteran, disabled veteran, and LGBTQ plus business certified enterprise business, we can assist with that. That is usually done with the hopes of securing contracts and for procurement. We have a lot of resources for that to educate you on how to go about that. And as well as lending, like I said, we could do loan prep for you and maybe introduce you to some good SBA lenders out there if you need outside of assistance in terms of startup money. The NJEDA, we work closely with. They're a great resource from the state, issuing many grants and loans and programs for small businesses. And there's our site as well, again, so you can always take advantage of any of our past webinars that are on file in our library of online webinars, such as this one, and future events. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to some questions. I'm going to keep this screen up. If you are not in business right now and you would like to form your business and you're starting from scratch, I would recommend that you utilize the QR code on the top. If you're already in business and have questions on anything that was discussed, then I would recommend you use the bottom. It's just a little more streamlined this way so that we have certain people who are really dedicated to business startups. And then certainly with anybody in business, you can request counseling from your regional SBDC center, and there's great counselors waiting to assist you. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate it. I hope everyone found Vanessa's presentation quite useful. And if you have any questions, I see 24 open questions in our Q&A box. Feel free to go there and share as well. As Vanessa has, before we dive into the Q&A, as Vanessa has mentioned, go to the appropriate links based on what you need. And if you ever want to learn more about NJSBDC, all you have to do is just go to NJSBDC.com and just look around for a minute or two and you'll find what you're looking for. Also, if you missed something during the webinar, if you wanted to understand better what Vanessa said or something like that, this webinar is being recorded. It has been recorded since the beginning. So just go to our YouTube channel. This will be available along with our other webinars that we've been doing. This will be available on our YouTube channel. This particular one will be available in 1 to 2 business days. And the slides that Vanessa just presented on are available if you complete our brief survey. All right, we have, as I mentioned, now 26 questions. We'll try to go through them quickly. Of course, we'll do our best. Vanessa will do her best to answer them as correctly as she can. But if something requires, Vanessa, we always do this. If something requires a session, then please register with us. Reach out if you've already talked to Vanessa before. If you haven't, then reach out and then we'll do our best to connect you and you can get an answer from there. All right, first is from Eric. We'll go in the order that we receive them. Eric says, how is a trade name different than my registered business name?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of terminology that gets confusing and different states use different terms for different things. My understanding, at least in New Jersey, when you say trade name, that's usually referred to as the sole proprietor that establishes a trade name at the county clerk's office. Now, the question for Eric would be whether or not he has an LLC or not. When you say registered business, You can either register your trade name, which is obtained from the county clerk because you're a sole proprietor, or you can create an LLC with a legal business name and register that. But then now that is now not called a trade name; it's called your legal business name.
Got it. Next question is from Benita. Where do we check to see if we are up to date on our paperwork for annual report submission for an LLC?
Okay, you have to go to the here. Let's see if we can find it. NJportal.com, annual reports and change service, file an annual report. And then you would put your business entity number here, business type, and your formation date, hit continue. And that's how you can find out if you are, it'll tell you if you're up to date on your filings and you're paying your dues. So everything can be found from the njportal.com. You'll get access to the slides. You'll be able to do that.
Yes, everything is hyperlinked. Next question is from Eric. Who is this business bank account with? Does it have to be with whomever NJ is the state of New Jersey is offering?
Most banks have business account services. You would do it through any of the banks that offer business account services.
Supriya asks, what is Form 1120?
That is the tax filing for a corporation.
All right. Next question is from William. For LLC, when do you choose how you want to be taxed? Can you switch methods at some point?
When do you choose how do you want to be taxed?
And can you switch the methods at some point if you'd like?
Yep. You choose when you register. And my understanding is there is a timing. This would be, I think, talk to an accountant. But if you want to change, say like next year, you decide, oh, you know what, I want to change how, you can alert the IRS that you want to make the change. And then in the following year, you just fill out the different, you fill out the different, you handle it a different way because you've alerted the IRS you're making the change.
Got it. Next question is from Anonymous. Is the income tax return due date for single member LLC same as individuals since it's allowed to combine?
Yes, it's the same return. So if April 15th is your deadline, it goes on that same return. It's an attachment to your personal income tax.
All right. Aruna asks, if I want to work as a consultant through my LLC, how can I do that by using 1099 and I'm the only owner for my LLC?
I'm guessing she wants to get the 1099, like she wants to contract her services with somebody else. Is that what I'm thinking?
She's going to work as a consultant.
So she would, whoever is hiring her would give her a W-9 and she would fill it out with, on the top of a W-9, it'll say business name, and you put the business name and then you put you sign it. There might be contact information there too. I don't have a W-9 up in front of me right now, but the point is that the relationship is the contract is going to be between the legal business name, and you're going to put when it says tax number on the bottom, you're going to put the EIN.
All right. Next question. Okay, so that says you answered it, but we'll just say it out loud. If we didn't say that, let us know if we actually answered it or not. She had said, if you are an LLC with the state, must you still file a trade name through the counties of operation, which is the legal business name?
If you're an LLC with the state, do you still have to put a trade name with the county? No, not at all.
Got it. Katuska says, if you don't pay self-employment tax on S corporation election, do you pay on your personal tax the self-employment tax? I'm a little confused by that question. Katuska, if you're still in attendance, please clarify on your question. We'll address it once we have clarification. Anonymous says, if I set up an LLC in another state, such as Delaware, what process is required to register in New Jersey for the purposes of legally operating as a business owner, living and conducting business within this state?
Yep. So when you go to form the LLC, it always asks you, what kind of an LLC do you want to form? And you would pick, I'd like to form a foreign New Jersey LLC. And then you go through the process. We can, just like with anything else, well, we can help you, we can walk you through it. But it's, you pick foreign because you're foreign to New Jersey. You already have a domestic somewhere else. And then you go through the process. It still costs $125. You still then have to register the foreign, but instead of creating a domestic New Jersey domestic LLC, you're creating a New Jersey foreign LLC.
Got it. Next question is, what happens if you open a business this year and decide you're not going to use it? Do you still need to file the BOI report?
Do you still need to file a what?
The BOI report.
Yeah, that's the BOIR is based on when you register the business. Doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you use it, whether or not you have income. The BOIR is upon the registration of the business for this year. It may change next year what the rules are. Was 90 days. Now, if you formed your LLC before January 1, 2024, the agency said, just get it done sometime in 2024. So anybody who existed as an LLC prior to January 1 of this year has all year to file the BOIR. If you're new and newly registered, they're giving you 90 days to get that filed.
All right. Next question is from Eric. If I already have a business name and registration in another state, but I am located in New Jersey and do business in New Jersey as well as other states, what is required?
Yeah, if you're physically in this state operating and doing business and transacting business, working here, you have to register to do business here. And you, in order to register, you have to create a foreign.
I think we usually get a lot of questions on how to, on this particular situation, Vanessa, on, if you're in another state, if you like to do this. So I think with that, if there's intricacies that, we can't really go in depth with during the webinar or during the Q&A session, then again, we always recommend that you request a counseling session and we walk you through those steps. Because at the end of the day, we can and we regularly do that anyway. So just another counseling session to walk you through this would be great instead of, we can walk you through the in-depth steps. All right, Tamarin asks, do these guidelines for forming an LLC apply to a new home-based business?
Home-based?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're home-based or you have brick and mortar. It's all the same for anything I discussed today. Doesn't matter if you're home-based or not.
All right, next question. Please confirm if I can be a registered agent for my company.
Well, I don't know who you are, but as long as you have a home address here in New Jersey and it's a New Jersey address, you may be your own registered agent. If you live someplace else, you can't. You have to, the registered agent has to be a New Jersey address. But you can be your own.
Okay, I think related to that is another question. If you become a registered agent for a foreigner or a resident business owner, do you need to use your business address? But I think you just said it has to be a personal address or New Jersey address.
Oh, that is a good question. Like, can you just, if you have a brick and mortar location and you want that to be the registered agent? Yeah, I think as long as it was my under, as long what New Jersey is looking at, as long as it's not a PO box, as long as it's a street address with a number on the street, town and zip code that mail it can be delivered to, that's sufficient to be your registered agent. It just can't be a PO box.
Got it. William asks, if you don't yet have sales, do you still file a federal or a state return?
So my understanding, and I'm gonna have to preface this, I'm not an accountant, but if there's no income, then there's nothing to report. So no. However, if so, obviously there's no income, right? So you're not doing anything with it. But sometimes there could be businesses who just are starting up and they might have incurred some expenses. You know, they're just not profitable yet. So if you're operating at a loss, you probably still want to file, just because there's been transactions. You know, so if there's any transaction, it should probably be reported because it might just benefit you. But if you've done, say you formed an LLC and then it just sat there because you haven't done anything with it, then no, there's nothing to report. Now, I just have to say that's income taxes. If you registered your business and you said yes to collecting sales tax, whether you forgot about it or you didn't do anything with it or you had no sales, you have to still report to the state. Log in and file an ST50. Once you say yes, they expect to hear from you. So even though nothing happened, you just have to put 0. They're going to expect to hear from you. That's sales tax collection.
All right. Just an FYI, Vanessa, I am having unstable internet connection. It's raining on my end. So if I'm freezing at any time or if you lose me, the Q&A is visible on your side as well. Next question is from Anonymous. Is beauty or facialist working from home studio need to collect or charge and pay New Jersey tax?
Sales tax.
I'm assuming that's what they meant. Yes.
You know, so I a lot of things I know off the top of my head. Sometimes I just have to go back to my sales tax booklet and confirm. If I don't believe so, I don't believe estheticians, I can never pronounce that word properly. I don't believe. I'm going to refer you. You can look it up. I don't want to take time here looking it up for you personally right now because, you know, other people have questions, but you'll be able to find that right in this booklet here. I don't believe that, and I don't know all the services you're providing. This is some of the trickier ones where some things may be not subject to sales tax and some services may. So I would refer you to this book, this sales tax booklet right here. It's all going to be spelled out right there. Did we lose Uzma?
I turned my video off just in case.
Oh, okay.
It helps the audio
Sure.
or it doesn't freeze me. All right. Next question. If you open a C corporation, but first year there is no income, you still pay the $500 fee to New Jersey. And if you have any income after the same year, it's the fee or tax based on income in New Jersey. I'm sorry, I lost. I'm not sure I comprehended that question. Vanessa, if you got the gist of it.
I didn't. If you can just read it again.
If you open a C corporation, but first year there is no income, you still pay the $500 fee to New Jersey. After that year, you have income. Is the fee or the tax based on income in New Jersey? I think that's how I am going to interpret it.
I'm afraid I'm not following
Yeah.
the question. So I'm sorry. Maybe if you want to make an appointment,
Yeah.
I'll just say this. Fees associated with any of your business entities, whether it be the 125 to form the LLC, it only costs $75 to form a corporation. It's actually less. I'm not sure what the $500 is, but any fees, they're expenses, they're business expenses. So if you're operating a business, and make sure you include them with in your profit and loss statements.
Yes. Please feel free to expand or clarify in your question, or just request a counseling session. Next, could you talk about having a virtual business address? From your experience with past entrepreneurs, is it a good choice for a small business starting out? What are the pros and cons? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. They've become a lot more popular, virtual business addresses. If you're a home-based business and you don't want to use your home address, there are a couple of sites now. A couple of things to keep in mind. It's a little confusing. I spent a little time on this recently just to make sure I understood. There is some nuances. There are differences between virtual mailing addresses versus virtual business addresses, where, sometimes there's just places where mail gets sent and it'll get scanned and it'll get sent to you. Then there are places that maybe cost a little bit more money, but they're a little bit more legit. Actually, when you get into the LLC and corporation, when you get into the business entities and you're dealing with banking, if you're going to do something virtual, they want to see the virtual business address, because that's something that's, there's accountability that there's an actual address, there's a street, there's a place, and that could be used for your location. And those are usually more suitable when you get into the LLC corporations versus a sole proprietor and you want to do something virtual. I would seek a virtual business address. It's going to there'll be some kind of a monthly fee, but if you're a home-based business and you don't want your home address, then I would recommend either for doing the virtual business and using that for either your registered agent or hiring a registered agent service as well. They have specific agencies that are registered agents that will, they're not going to start accepting packages from Amazon from you, but they'll be responsible for accepting all they'll suffice for the purposes of the state to receive your mail from the state.
All right, we have 2 questions on workers' compensation. I'll link them together. Anonymous says, is it mandatory to have workers' compensation if you have an LLC, only worker and just consultant business from home? And similarly, Boris asks, is it mandatory to have workers' compensation for sole proprietorship?
Okay, well, there's some gray area in there, but I'll just say, if you're an LLC or a sole proprietorship and you're using an EIN number, you can only hire people with an EIN number. You have an EIN and you start a payroll, they're considered an employee of your company you're legally required, I believe, don't know if there's any exceptions, but I believe you are legally required to pay workers' compensation. If you hire somebody as an independent contractor, you're not required to pay workers' compensation. They're independent contractors, they're not employees. Where you have to be careful is if you have a business and everybody's an independent contractor, but everybody works for you full time, and they unfortunately, get hurt on the job, and they go to the hospital, and they have big hospital bills to pay, and somebody were to ask them, who do you work for? I don't, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an insurance expert, I'm just raising a scenario that has potentially, caused problems in the past, where you could potentially be liable if someone wants to make the case and sue you that this person was working for you in a capacity that really should have been that of a paid, payroll employee, and what wasn't covered in terms of, you want to use the independent contractor excuse. Well, no, they weren't independent. So you have to think about your risk and what you're asking your workers to do, and whether, there are some people, even though they're independent contractors, there are some companies that will still opt for workers' compensation policies because of the nature of the work that the laborers might do for them. So, but just, black and white, is the response would be, you're responsible if you start a payroll and have employees to pay workers' comp versus if you just have independent contractors.
All right. Next question is from Vince. What are the requirements for a traditional corporation to be able to choose an S Corp tax designation?
The two I'm familiar with is as long as there's less than 100 owners, and it's only common stock, not, preferred, which has it's a whole other thing in terms of the stock, type of stock that's issued, then you can apply for an S Corp tax designation.
All right. Anonymous says, if a business was formed many years ago as an LLC but never registered, was not formed correctly, do you still need to file the BOI report and register now? Business name was never used.
I don't know, honestly. This is all new this year. I mean, if you're not using the LLC and you've abandoned it and you never registered it, no one's looking. I don't think anybody's looking for you. Let's just say, I would just say, using common sense, maybe if you have a business and it is in business and you're a registered business, you have through the end of 2024 to file the BOIR. I don't know what else to really say about that. There are a lot of people who start businesses in the past and it doesn't work out, or they may abandon it, or they never did it, they thought they were going to, but it's never too late. If you want to, get a business back up and running, properly register it, properly go to the BOIR and do everything, you can still do that.
All right. Vince asks, what are the requirements for a traditional corporation who chooses to be taxed as an S Corp? Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I just read that. I said that again.
That's okay.
Anonymous, if you have a corporation and decide to go regular LLC single member, do you need to go to the IRS first to make the change and then make changes in New Jersey?
No, you make changes in New Jersey first. You have to file a conversion, and you can do that now. It used to be very complicated in New Jersey. I mean, that it is now permitted within the last year and a half. You can convert a corporation to an LLC, and you can convert an LLC to a corporation. And then once you do that, you would alert the IRS of the change, and then any subsequent change in taxation.
Got it. Next question. Can I, also Luca asks, can I merge a new business to an existing one? Or should I change the purpose of an existing business to a new one without another registration?
Well, I'm not going to answer that specifically, but I'm going to answer just some structural things that I think would address your question. Is that you can run as many businesses under an LLC umbrella as you wish, provided that you're comfortable with the risk inherent in each of the businesses, that you're all under one liability asset umbrella, right? So you don't have to, like, if you have something that you said in a registration was a business purpose, look, that can change, and that's okay. I don't even think you have to there's no place to even necessarily update that. I mean, unless you're dealing with government contracting and you want to make sure they're aware of the different services you're providing. But just if you're a general LLC, you set it up and there's something else you want to do, you can do it under the LLC umbrella. If you have two separate LLCs right now, and you're like, why am I even bothering to have two separate LLCs? I can do everything under one. You can merge them. There is a merging process. You can shut one down and just, so if there's no assets involved, you could probably just close one and then just assume the work. If you have two separate tax IDs and you merge them, it is a process. You can do it right online on the portal, where you'll say whether or not you want one to be the standing LLC that stands, the one that's standing at the end using that tax ID. You probably have to retire one of the tax IDs. So it's a little complicated. I would make an appointment. We can look at it together, but there's room to play with things and to become more efficient in how you're running your business if you don't want to operate two LLCs in this.
All right. We have 5 open questions, and we'll just take those questions, or
we'll do rapid responses now.
Rapid responses, and we're closing. All right. Anonymous, for the purposes of anonymity, is there a way to not attach my personal tax return to my and my partner's LLC 1065 form at tax time?
Anonymity. Well, I'm not going to answer that. I'll just tell you what the process is, and then you can decipher from there. And then you could always speak to your accountant. The 1065 is due a month before the income tax filing. So April 15th, if we're doing a December calendar year, April 15th is the federal tax filing deadline. 1065s are due in March. 1065 gets filed for the partnership. And then what happens is each of the owners of the LLC, of the multi-member LLC, has their share of the profits that's reported on the 1065. And then what you have to do is you take your share of the profits from the 1065 and you file a K1. The K1 is your share of the profits reported on your personal income tax return under your Social Security number. So that's how your partnership tax returns are paid, by filing K1s as a result of the 1065 filing. So ultimately, yes, the K1 is going to hit your personal income tax return.
All right. Next question is from Teddy. Can there be two business registered? Can two businesses be registered in the same address? Example, a corporation and LLC, but 2 different owners and same address.
Sure. 2 separate tax IDs, but if it's coming out of the same home, it's fine.
Yep. Aruna says, is there any standard contract agreement which I need to do with the vendor for my LLC? I am the only owner for the LLC if I want to provide consultant services for the vendor in addition to the W-9.
That's up to the relationship between you and the vendor. In terms of taxes, the W-9 is what's required for the IRS. If there's any kind of relationship between you and whoever's hiring you, that's up to the person hiring you if they want you to sign a contract or not.
Next question is from Christian. If you form an LLC through the state of New Jersey, should you file for a trade with the exact same name as the LLC? If so, what should you do first? Oh, I'm sorry. Christian says, if you form an LLC through the state of New Jersey, should you file for a trademark with the exact same name as the LLC? And which should you do first?
Well, the first thing I would do is you create. If you're ready to start operating, you're ready to start working, you have to start your business, right? You have to form the LLC, you have to register the business, and you're operating. And your name is protected in the state in terms of no one else can legally have that exact name. Trademark is a whole other different process. It's done on a federal level. And if you want to protect your name or a portion of your name or some aspect of your name, or something along the lines of, on a national level, then you can apply for a trademark. And that can take upwards of a year, year and a half. There's a process. It's cumbersome. And we always say, and they say as well, it's right on the website, that they highly recommend you hire a lawyer to handle any kind of trademark of a federal level.
All right, Vanessa, guess what? We're at the end of our Q&A session and we are done. No more questions. I think we always get a lot of questions with this webinar, and I think this is always helpful. No matter how many times we do it, and then we'll continue to do this. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, these are great questions. Everybody
Yeah.
had really good questions. Please know that follow up, make an appointment, speak to somebody, because there are a lot of nuances, and sometimes we just have to hear your story personally.
Got it. All right, and let me share my screen and quickly show our website, just in case anyone was having trouble finding it, something like that. Definitely sign up for our newsletters. This is our homepage, NJSBDC.com. This is where you go for counseling and events and resources and data, and you'll see that we have blog posts, our testimonials, upcoming events, our podcast that we used to do last year and the year before, but now we have our Empower to Grow show. I just want to quickly go over some pages. Of course, you'll see different information on different tabs, but specifically for events, I want to show this page. If you go to events tab, then you go to NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars, it'll open up to our YouTube channel. And this is where you'll find all our uploads from the Empower to Grow show, which I showed earlier in the webinar. You'll see our different series that we've done. All the small business webinars from NJ Thrives are located here. This one is the latest one that we, no, this is the first one that we ever did, and then so on and so forth. You'll find them here, whether it's a tech team, it's a specialty team, all of them are here. Next is the state. If you again go to the events tab, go to statewide events, then you'll be taken to our statewide events page. If you remember earlier, I mentioned that we have 11 regionals, 11 locations, including our state office. This is the calendar for all our centers. And there are different topics that everyone does, whether they're in person or online, whether there is this fee or they're free at no cost, and whether they're in English or in Spanish. So you can see that we have bilingual webinars in different language, of course, Spanish, but we also have bilingual consultants. So if you need to speak to someone in Spanish or any other language, just let us know and we'll do our best to connect you with an appropriate consultant. All right, so this is that page, and resources hub, quickly to go over that. This is where we have linked all the federal business resources as well as state resources, partners, some of them local as well. So go through this page as well if you have a minute or two, and then you'll find lots of resources. All right, next webinar that is happening is next Thursday, October 3rd. It's already October next week, so trying to maximize team performance, proven strategies using personality insights is our next upcoming webinar. This will be with Tiffany Slowinski. Leverage data for better hiring, learn how to use data to identify the right candidates and align roles with individual strengths. Okay, and we are here to support you. We've helped 15,000 plus small businesses grow in the 46 years that we have been in existence. Apologies for turning off my video. I think because of the rain, I'm having unstable internet connection. But if you are here in North Jersey, stay safe, stay dry, and we'll see you next Thursday. So thank you so much for attending and take care. Bye.